Hey, Nick, there's all this talk about an identity and things like that. When you have a running back like Saquon, top three in rushing, an offensive line that's a mash in the run game, is the identity maybe evolving into kind of a running team?
Excuse me. I think, again, we do what we need to do to win each game. There's going to be a game where we have to, I'm sorry, guys. We're going to have to pass it a bunch. There's going to be a game we're going to have to run it again like that. And so it's all going to be week to week. Again, you want to stay in things that you do well, and but everything's going to be week to week based off of what's going right that week. And so we'll see as the year progresses.
Nick, you told us about the moment with Saquon, but since we've all seen that, can that have an effect on the entire team?
Yeah, I think people really respect Saquon, and because of the person he is, the leader he is, the player that he is, and I think that it just shows selflessness. Just caring about the team, caring about. And that's what he's been since he's been here. That's what he's been, excuse me, since he's probably been 10 years old, right, and playing football. And so I think that a lot of that guys respect that, and we try to point those things out anytime they happen, with the selflessness and because that's part about being a team. Excuse me.
Hey, Nick, what impresses you most about Joe Burrow?
Yeah, he's a obviously really good player who's done it really well. Excuse me. I need to step away for a second. I'm gonna have a coughing attack.
Be right back.
Excuse me. Okay. That was funny. Yeah, he's done it at a high level for a very long time. I mean, thinking back on just that team that he had in college, he still has one of the guys that he was throwing to in college, and just how fun that was. Excuse me, to watch. And yeah, just think, he just plays at a high level each and every year, and this is a really good offense. A lot of respect for this offense with the weapons they have, and then obviously Joe Burrow.
We've seen over the last, since the start of season, the defense and the personnel usage, and in some cases guys being subbed out for others, evolve. But especially so since the bye. How has Vic managed that, and how have you overseen it and allowed him to kind of run with that?
Yeah, obviously these guys have a vision of, what guys do well, and they're with that every single day, and obviously I'm there with them watching that. But, they're got so much faith in our defensive staff to, hey, we think this guy should be here, or this guy should be there. And, obviously, again, we watch it all together, but they're the experts at defense. And, so I just got a lot of respect for our defensive staff and the positions that they've put the guys in. Like, we know this, though. We're only as good as our next game. So we got a really big challenge on our hands this week against a really good opponent, and looking forward to the challenge. And we'll see how that goes.
And how does that happen? If I could follow up, how does that, we've gotten to know Vic fairly well. He's pretty blunt, and he's pretty much going to just handle things the way he's going to handle them. That may rub some players if they're losing snaps, et cetera. How does he handle that, and are you kind of the good cop to his bad cop?
Yeah, I think every situation calls for something probably a little bit different. I think, like I said, he's about the result of the play and how he gets the guys better and how he puts them in positions to succeed. And I think he's consistent, with everything. I don't think there's a lot of surprise of, you make a mistake. What you got there?
Milk?
I don't need milk. I haven't had a glass of milk in probably 20 years. But it's yeah, I think he's just really consistent. I think guys respect the consistency. Now, you might not always like and that's what you try to do as a coach. You might not always not everybody might always like what's being said, but I think everyone has to respect the consistency, and I think that's what I admire about Vic.
In the post-game speech that the team's getting its mojo back, what did you mean by that? And I guess what does that look like?
I think I said about the pass rush, okay. And so it was just, when you have 2 games in a row where the pass rush has been what it's been, I just felt that. I kind of wrote that, like I write notes on my call sheet as we go through the game, things that need to be corrected, this and that you see live. And I just wrote that in the middle of the game after maybe the fifth sack. Like, it just felt like that, right? Where it's, at any point with the guys that were going up front, that at any point they could get a sack because of the way they were rushing. And so that's how I felt about it. And it was, I know the defensive line felt that way too. The defense felt that way. I think the offense felt that way. I think the entire team felt that way of like, because we've had a lot of sacks here in my 4 years. And it's a great feeling, because that's a stat we pay a lot of attention to, because it's kind of in that double positive, the explosive play battle and the turnover battle. It kind of goes. It's the next one that we look at there, and so we know how important that is.
How do you balance the feeling that think they have found something in the pass rush versus it's happened to come against two teams that had some weakened offensive front, or does it matter because they feel the sacks and they think they got them?
Yeah, I mean, every this is professional football. Like every week's going to be a huge challenge, and and so again, just you get it not because of who you're going against, but really because of how you prepare and how you go about your business each week. I think we're a product of our habits more so than who we're playing, right? Or anything like that. You're gonna have the habits that you practice out there with, and so that's what we really try to focus on.
Nick, how unique is it to be able to kind of be able to change like identity during a game? Like from, let's say you go into a game thinking you're going to run the ball, but then they show you something different and you pass the ball, and you got guys like AJ and Devontae and stuff like. I guess that's probably something you probably didn't have like when you first got here, obviously. So how unique is that?
Yeah, I think what was unique as I saw it this week in the Giants game was when you watch that tape, you see there's multiple times where Devontae is throwing his body around to get a block. We only passed the ball 4 times in the second half, so it's going to be a day that any receiver is going to, you're not going to get the production that you normally get when those things happen. But to see the effort of AJ and Devontae and Jahan, I'm gonna single those 3 guys out. And Paris did a good job blocking as well when he was in, and Johnny did a good job. He had a nice block on one and had some other good efforts. But the effort, that was huge. Like the play that I felt like kind of got us going was that one around the edge by Saquon. Well, AJ comes in and digs the safety out, and then Cam's able to wrap around and ends up getting hands on their corner. And so it's like, okay, the game's and it was kind of a little early to say that the game was going to play out that way at that point. But as the game progressed, you just see, like, we all heard the selflessness of Saquon when I had that conversation with him when he, so that was heard. But you see it on tape with Devontae. I'm going to single those 2 guys out particularly, Devontae and AJ, of how they blocked in a game like that. And I remember there was a game a couple years ago where Devontae said the same thing. I remember he said it to Slay on the sideline. Like Slay's like, "Let me get in." We were winning by a lot. And he's like, "Let me get in, get a couple catches." He's like, "We ain't catching today. We've been running it. And you want to come in on offense? You better go ahead and strap it up because we're blocking today." And so it's like, I love like that selflessness that we get to see, and that's like. When you're building the team and you're building, as a group, you're building together to try to do this. Those things go a long way. The selflessness, and I know I'm answering the question kind of like to really emphasize that as opposed to how it goes different, because every game can go a little bit different than how you think. But at the end of the day, it's about winning the football game and what we have to do to be successful. And when you're a guy who gets the ball a lot, like those guys, and then it's a day that you don't get the ball, how are you affecting the game? How are you affecting the game in a positive way when you're not touching the football? And those guys, I just can't say enough. Like I wanted to spend a little time on that because I can't say enough about how selfless I felt like they were, and that doesn't surprise me. That's how these guys are.
Is that Nick? Is that contagious when your veteran, your leaders do that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think everyone feeds off that. Sometimes you see a play on the sideline where Saquon lowers his shoulder, or AJ finishes on the sideline, or Coop finishes on the sideline, the contagiousness. Yeah? Okay. That has, right, for the toughness of your football team and the energy that it brings. Well, it's the same thing here. If guys are watching and seeing that, and we pointed out and we showed that, I mean, that's a big deal. Because when Devontae Smith can do it, play with selflessness, and, then they got to do that too, because that's what's the expectation and that's what the standard is.
How would you describe Josh Sweat's season to this point?
I think Josh Sweat is one of the most physical guys on this football team. And I think that defensive ends are always judged on how many sacks did you get, right? And I get that, and that's part of it. But the way he plays the run and the way he puts his hands on tight ends and the way he puts his hands on tackles and the violence that he plays with is critical to our success on how he plays on the edge of our defense. And so I feel like every week when I'm watching the tape, I'm writing up there 19, as I look at the tape, 19 plus physical, 19 plus violent, 19 plus way to use your hands. It's like, it's just over and over and over again. And it was good to see him, the last couple of weeks get the sacks because he's always on pursuit. I think there was a really good play that he made in that Giants game where they thumped the edge, with the tight end. He got skinny and then got himself back on the tackle, and was an unbelievable rush when the attention was going to him. When you can beat a rush when two guys are blocking you, that's impressive, and he was able to do that, and he's been able to do that throughout his career. But yeah, he sets a tone to our defense of the way he plays with his physicality, and we'll expect him to keep doing that because that's the type of guy he is.
What about the framework of the passing game helps Jalen be right more frequently when he goes after a one-on-one? Kellen talked about how there is a passing progression, but you can green light after a one-on-one if he sees it. You guys have done that before, but what went into that conversation with the offset as you're building that to help him in that?
Yeah, again, there's time. You have good one-on-one players, and you trust one-on-one players. It takes the built-in trust that is, again, this isn't blind faith. This is work over and over and over again that he trusts AJ, Devontae to work those one-on-ones when he does have them, and being able to know when he doesn't have them to work the other part of the concept. And so, and listen, defenses are constantly trying to manipulate you to see, to deceive you, right, of to what you're really getting. And so I just think he's done a good job of seeing what the defense is giving to him, taking his opportunities for one-on-ones when he has them, and playing football, playing the position at a high level when they don't present themselves.
Two more, folks.
Is it a byproduct, sometimes chasing those shots, when he does see those one-on-one matchups, does it sometimes lead to the passing offense maybe seeming arrhythmic at times?
Again, when you don't complete a vertical ball, there's still a fear that's put into the defense where they can't sit on routes at the sticks, or they can't sit on routes that appear like, listen, defense is trying to deceive us, and we're trying to deceive them. Like, everyone's lying out there on the field, right? And so when you go vertical and you don't get it, yes, that puts you into 2nd and 10, but if it's 1st and 10, obviously. But there's so much else it does, right, to that defensive back into that matchup. And so, I don't think you can look at it as just a product of, hey, it was an incomplete pass. Like, we started the Cleveland game that way, right, with a couple of vertical shots that were incomplete passes. You can't look at it like that. There's other things that go into it when after that happens.
Last one. As a wide receiver guy, how would you compare or evaluate the two combinations in this game?
Yeah, both big time. Both big time. Obviously a ton of respect for T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And I think the guy, kid from Princeton's doing well too. And obviously wouldn't want anyone else but our guys with Devontae and AJ. But again, it'll be fun for fans to watch, right? The combination of all those playmakers on the field. I know you want me to rank them. I'm not going to rank them, but a ton of respect for both. Love the guys that we have, and a lot of respect over there. Of how they've done it and how they've done it for many years. Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
Just to follow up on the passing, what goes into the balance of, either zeroing in on those one-on-ones when there may be something in the progression that emerges? Like, what's the balance, and how do you kind of coach that?
Yeah, again, sometimes routes stay on versus press, sometimes they convert versus press, sometimes they stay on versus cloud, and sometimes they convert. And so sometimes it's just the defense that balances that out. But, again, you're just trying to attack multiple ways. You're trying to attack on the outside, you're trying to attack on the inside, you're trying to attack vertical, you're trying to attack short. So again, we're constantly lying to the defense about what we're doing.
All right, thanks.